Good morning, everybody. We are back this morning for another round of Milan Live. I am coming to you live from the Main Street and Milan Chamber office in downtown Milan. We also have Rhoney with us today, our chamber director, and she currently is at her lovely home. And we have Joy Whitenburg, who is the executive director. Is that the appropriate title, Joy, of Aid In Milan?
It is. That's the one they gave me. So.
Great. Well, we're happy to have Joy with us this morning and wanted to chat with all of you about some things going on around town and then talk with Joy about all sorts of really exciting things that they're planning at Aid In Milan right now. So how are things going for you this morning, Kim? What's up with the chamber?
Well, I'm actually on my way in, but Jill and I have learned that doing this from two different locations, we get a little bit better sound quality. So it took a little longer morning here. We are just getting over, we had 3 ribbon cuttings at the weekend and those went off wonderfully. Great attendance at all 3. We opened for, first we went to Miss Joni's dog grooming on Main Street, East Main, and visited her, and she gave away a big basket that day. And we got to see her cute place. She's been working on it really hard. And then we went to Lavender Lane right across the street there at the corner of East Main and Tolan. And Lavender Lane, it looks just, what a stunning build out. Joe Pusta and his family, his wife Courtney, they have all worked very, very hard on that build out and their gorgeous product line. And from what I understand from you, Jill, we've already had some out-of-town visitors coming in during the week just to check them out, which is just, that's all of our destination branding and right? Just so exciting, right? People coming to Milan. And then, so now we're getting back in the swing of things. For those of you that are members or aspiring to be members, billing is going out and I've been working on a website update. So take a look at your chamber listing on our website and see if it looks how you like. I'm able to add logos and photos now. So I've been working on that. And when I send out your bill, I send a link to your directory just to remind you to take a peek because we always like those to be up to date. And as we're becoming more of a destination, the directory becomes a little more integral because I'm hearing and talking to people that when they come to town, they want to know what else to do. So whatever it is, the hook that got them here, whether it was yarn or fabric or lavender or beer or barbecue or whatever, or cookies, they get here, they want to stay a little longer and they want to find out about us. So I feel like the directory is becoming more and more important.
So your 3rd ribbon cutting was with Songbird Studio, which was
thank you.
How
could I forget Teacher Deb?
I know, right?
She's so cute.
Yeah, she's going by Teacher Deb now instead of Mrs. Nichols.
I know she'll always be Mrs. Nichols for me, but I thought Teacher Deb was so cute with her whole vibe she has there. For those of you that maybe didn't catch the video or check in on Saturday, she has this amazing little arts studio for performance, like voice, piano, ukulele, I think guitar, like just acting, all kinds of acting, all things performance oriented. And she has over 70 students. So for those of you that think the arts in Milan are just kind of quiet, which I always think they're not, they're vibrant, but I think that just speaks volumes about our community and our families and community members and what they want to do with their time and what they're willing to invest in. So congratulations to her, because it was just a bright spot for us all.
It was. I did want to tell a little bit of story about something you mentioned, Kim, which was yesterday afternoon. I was sitting in the Chamber and Main Street office, and I had 2 ladies come in asking about all of the places to shop downtown, and they happened to be from Northville. It was their first time in Milan, and they came in because they're followers of Lavender Lane. So Lavender Lane opened on Saturday, and like Kim said, it's gorgeous, and they're already bringing us out of town visitors to our lovely downtown. So that's great. We love that. There's so many fantastic things to see downtown. It's so nice to know that people are coming downtown. So I wanted to tell everybody about another reason to come downtown, and one really exciting thing that's happening on March 4th that has not happened in our downtown or in our community that I can think of, is that we are hosting a winter fireworks. And this is thanks to a sponsorship by the Sons of the American Legion. And there's just we're calling it the Winter Blast. So, you know, a great excuse to come out and have a blast downtown and watch some winter fireworks, March 4th. The cool thing about that, because of it gets dark earlier, you don't have to, like in the summer, wait until 10 o'clock to see them. They will be going off at about 7 o'clock at night. We expect them to be a pretty spectacular fireworks. They are being put on by the same people that do the fireworks in the summer months. Our budget's probably a little bit smaller than the summer budget for that, so I don't know that we'll have quite this spectacular finale that comes with the fireworks at the fabulous fireworks that the fair always does, but it'll be worth it to get downtown and see that going off. Some logistical things to know about that, though. They are, because of the winter, they're not going and shooting them off from the island because they didn't know logistically whether the water would be frozen or not, how to get them over there. So these fireworks are being shot off from behind Wilson Park at the Youth League field, and will be shot up over the top of Wilson Park. And with no leaves and stuff being on the trees, you should be able to have a really good vantage point from almost anywhere downtown and from anywhere in Wilson Park. So no roads will be closed for this. And again, I think you'll be able to camp out anywhere in Wilson Park or around the downtown and see them really easily. So we're excited about that. And then one other quick thing before we start talking to Joy, I am very excited to bring back the downtown read around for another year. Last year, we featured a different page from the book of The Snowy Day in businesses downtown. It was either in their window or adjacent to them on a yard sign. And this year we are coming back, but not in February. We're kicking off on March 4th with this lovely book called, I've got it here, I can show you. It's called Someone Builds the Dream. And it's by Lisa Wheeler, who happens to be a Michigan author, and it's illustrated by Lauren Long. And it really is a celebration of every type of worker you could imagine, from construction workers to architects, scientists to welders, book authors and illustrators, and all of the people that it goes in to making a dream or something that somebody's imagined into reality. It's really a great book. We will have that featured at about 21 businesses and organizations throughout the downtown, including Aid In Milan. They will have a page of the book featured as well, and a variety of activities associated with all of those things. So follow the Main Street page, but if you go to milanmainstreet.info, you will see a tab on there for the downtown read around, and it has a map of all the locations and all sorts of details about what's going on with the downtown read around this year. Great way to promote literacy. The book was recommended to us by one of our school board members, Carrie Macchio, who also happens to be an educator. And she brought this wonderful book to our attention. We're so thrilled with that. I had an opportunity to speak with Carrie and Jan Kiger, both school board members, last night, and they plan to come down and do some really fun things as well. Last year they did a Get Caught reading and gave away prizes. They plan to do something similar. And they also this year have a bunch of Christmas ornaments that are like construction vehicles, and they'll be raffling one off every week. So details about that, but a lot of fun things happening with the downtown read around this year. So it's exciting. All right. So did I lose you guys? Kim, you're quiet now. You're not saying anything.
No, I was thinking it's time for Joy.
Okay.
She's been waiting patiently.
I'm just trying not to interrupt and jump in on your.
No, you can. So I had an opportunity to meet with Joy yesterday. Kim chatted with her on the phone earlier. There are a lot of great things that are going on at Aid In Milan. And I think sometimes one of the things that Joy said to me yesterday that I thought was really interesting is I think there's the community knows Aid In Milan. It's been here for many, many years. But they have maybe a limited view of everything that the organization does. And so I would love to have you chat a little bit about all of the things you do, but in particular, some of the initiatives that you have coming up. So take it away, Joy.
Yeah, sure. No, so I've obviously spoken with both you and Kim before. Kim, I got an interesting introduction to the first time I was out at Zilphy's farm right after the storm. I ran into Kim and she got a real good dose of who I am as we were just sweating under the sunflowers there. So I feel like she met me under the ideal circumstances there. There was no putting on airs under that situation. But
I think
no,
I had painted all day, Joy, so I don't think I was looking too fresh.
yes, it was the end of the day. Vicki and I had to reschedule multiple times to even make this happen because of the storm coming through. It was, at that point we were just like, we have got to get this figured out and solved. So we're doing it and we're not going to stop whatever it takes. So we happened to be there and it was great. But in any case, so I've talked to both of you about different things over the last 6 months since I've started with Aid In Milan. But a lot has gone on and there is a lot more that's ramping up to happen. So I'll try to give you kind of a brief overview of the things that are coming up because I know it can be kind of like, I equate it to talking to people with a fire hose. Sometimes even my board gets a little overwhelmed. So I'll try to keep it as clear as I can. We're trying to find a way to communicate with folks in a way that makes sense and is easy to get the information to them. We try to put it out on Facebook as frequently as possible, but not everybody uses the internet. So we'll figure it out at some point. But this is also a great avenue to do that. So we do offer the food pantry, of course. So grab and go is still going on. And thankfully, our volunteers have been just wonderful, even through COVID and, storms and all kinds of nonsense. They continue to show up, and we even have new volunteers showing up all the time to learn how to do that and help us with that. So that's still happening. We did readjust the hours in a way that made more sense for us and for our clients that are coming for that. So that's been really useful. We still have the Pantry on Wheels program. It's readjusted a little bit. Mostly for efficiency, because again, we have a very small staff. Part of our mission is that we want to encourage volunteering. So we're intentionally keeping our staff very small because we want to be volunteer run and volunteer led. It's part of what we do. It's not just a happy accident. We intentionally want the community to stay heavily involved in what we do. So we had to kind of rearrange how we did that so that volunteers could continue to be the ones doing the program with us. So Pantry on Wheels is still happening where we're delivering food to folks who qualify for that program here in Milan. And then towards the end of last year, we did add something called a pop-up pantry, which you may or may not have heard anything about. I don't know, depending on if you've talked to me or not. Something that we're really excited about. So as COVID kind of ramped up, we saw folks coming in from other areas just because they needed the food and they needed help. And are you really going to turn folks away when they need groceries? And it started to get very difficult for people to even get to us when they needed groceries. So there were pockets of people in different areas that needed the grocery help. So we started this program as kind of a pilot and partnered with a few of our funders to take, essentially we pack up our van. And it was interesting because when we started the program, we didn't even have the van because the storm came through and crushed our van.
Right.
So that was a super fun thing. Thankfully, Ryan, right up the road from us, Ryan Quayle from Mosaic Church, let us borrow his van for a while until we got one, which was, so lucky for us. But anyway, the pop-up pantry, we load up the van with groceries and we take it up to a community site. So far, it's been churches that have partnered with us, but it could be anywhere, any VFW hall, wherever, and folks can get groceries that way, same as they would at the building. So those are kind of our pantry programs that are focused on food. But the other things that we do that have always been a part of Aid In Milan that some people know about, not everybody does. We also help with things that I like to call them, and I don't know what other people refer to them as, but things that are intended to, they're assistance, but they're intended to disrupt the cycle of poverty. So if you need help navigating the system, so applying for assistance from the state or getting food stamp benefits or things like that, or just getting on assistance or applying for unemployment, temporary or whatever that is, we have an advocate on staff who can help with that. So even things where if you did run into a crisis situation and you're here in the Milan area, this is something that is a little different than the food programs, because the food programs are open to really anybody. But these programs are really heavily centered on, you know, our neighbors right here in Milan. But if you did run into a crisis situation and needed rental assistance or something like that, depending on the situation, we sometimes help out with that, or gas assistance to get to work, or a doctor's appointment. So things like that. We even do things that are really fun and you don't really think about, but even things like birthday bags. If one of our clients' kids has a birthday, rather than force them to make a choice between, am I going to get a birthday gift for my kid, or am I going to pay the light bill this month? Because really, we're all parents here on this call. That is a gut-wrenching choice to make if you have to make that year after year. Rather than do that, you know, we will give them a birthday present that's appropriate for the age of their child, and, you know, a whole birthday kit. So decorations and a cake pan and frosting and cake mix and things like that, so that their kid can not be experiencing what poverty feels like just for that one day. And usually Star, who handles this program for us, is really good about like sneaking those out in the car when they come to pick up groceries so that the kids don't see it and things like that. So it has a similar idea behind it as the Adopt a Family program for Christmas, in that we don't want to force people to have to make those choices, to kind of give them a break from that relentless stress that comes from just constant financial stress and strain.
I have a question about that, Joy. So I know like a lot of people know that they can donate canned goods and food to Aid In Milan, but is there a need for you to have people donate toys and clothing and stuff that supports those types of programs that you're talking about?
Oh, absolutely. So similar to what we do around Christmas for Adopt a Family, we do another thing for Easter baskets coming up. And then, of course, we do things for birthday bags year round, whenever those come up. We actually have some Amazon wish lists that are made for those things specifically.
Great.
And then like last summer, we had a Girl Scout troop that they put together a bunch of these birthday kits for us, where they did a big birthday bag kit, and they did all the decorations and the cake mixes and frosting bags, which was a really great thing. And it got us through, I think, like 8 months worth of our birthday bags. Amazing. Yeah. So that kind of stuff is always helpful. And we can provide the links to those on our website as well, but we have Amazon wish list for all those things. We even have one for our personal care program for like shampoos and toilet paper and things like that, that we provide when we can. If we have them in stock, we provide them to clients. If we don't have them, you know, we do what we can.
Great. All right.
So hopefully that
Joy, one of
Yeah,
the things
it
that
does.
I was particularly interested in learning about the greenhouse grant that you got, and the community garden, and your interest in fostering people growing their own food, and the processing of the food, and how that can help neighbors, and also help end poverty, or at least hunger for certain.
Yeah, so I'm excited about this one. I'm really excited about this. So the community garden was started before I got here, which is fantastic. And you can't see it right now because the snow is covering it. But we have a really great group of volunteers who got that started. So that will restart up this summer. But then we also had a longtime volunteer and his daughter who built this gorgeous greenhouse for us and donated it to us. So I have photos of it, but it is gorgeous. We're so excited to put it up when the weather breaks. We do need help from a landscaper, because I don't know how to put this up appropriately. I've researched it a little bit, but obviously we're going to do it right. But once we get that up, yes, we want to extend our growing season a bit, because I don't know if you've noticed, but store shelves are struggling to keep in good produce. So if stores are struggling to do that, you can imagine what's happening to people who are struggling with their income, right? If it's affecting people who have money, it is absolutely affecting people who are struggling with their finances tenfold usually. So that whole getting fresh produce and things like that, we're very fortunate in Milan because we're surrounded by all these very generous farmers who show up and help us constantly. So we're very, very fortunate. But we want to keep that cycle of taking care of our neighbors going as long as possible. So one of the goals of this whole garden and greenhouse project is, yes, to grow food, obviously right there in our side yard. But realistically, that garden is tiny and the greenhouse is also very small. It's an 8 by 10 greenhouse. We will feed people out of it, and we fed people out of the garden last year, and it was fantastic and helpful. We used it, every little bit of it. But the bigger piece of it, or the bigger goal of it, I guess, is we want to keep that cycle of teaching folks how important it is to kind of fall in love with that process of not just relying on getting our food from faraway places, because like what we're seeing happen now, this is very typical. There's always going to be whoever in power making choices that, you know, put tariffs on things and taxes on things. And it might be hard to get avocados from a place or oranges from another place, or, you know, freight lines go down or the cost of freight goes crazy and things like that. And then the prices go up to a point where it just doesn't, it gets difficult to get things. And that's going to become more and more normal. The food supply is always going to be an issue, and it's going to become an even greater issue as the years go by, right? So one of the things that we can do to kind of protect ourselves and our families is to find a way to become a little bit more self-sufficient. And this is one of the easy ways that we can do that, is through programs like this. So the garden and the greenhouse program that we're doing, and we partnered with Azalea Solars, who we applied for the grant, and it's partially funded right now. So I'll just be clear about that. But they did 50% of it, which was amazing. We're so excited about it. This is actually for our teen volunteer program this year, because the whole intent of it is to work with our teens this year and have them figure out the best way to, and it's not really just them figuring it out. Our existing garden volunteers they're brilliant people, much smarter than me, but have them learn and figure out, you know, how do we grow this? What do we grow next to each other? You know, what's the optimal growing conditions and things like that? You know, I've spoken to the woman who is in charge of the FFA now. She's younger than me, so, you know, I've got to use the right term, but I've spoken to her about, you know, her advice and pairing with her on some initiatives for that too. But getting them involved and not just giving them directions on do this, do that, but actually letting them make some choices and experiment with some things so that they're heavily involved in the process, because the hope is that they fall in love with growing things, and growing things not just for themselves, but in an effort to take care of other people.
I just love that. It's actually Miss Forbush is the teacher that you're thinking of. And my daughter had her in a plant class last year as a senior. It was an elective. And she just, I mean, I've raised my kids in the country and we have a garden and all of that, but she really just the science behind the botany, the connection to the people, just really, really enjoyed that. And Josephine Forbush is just, she is the bomb. So that's a great partner for you.
Smart. And I mean,
yeah,
I sat down to talk with her and I was blown away. And what a great example of untapped potential. And I say untapped, I mean, obviously she's teaching at the school, right? And she's working with the FFA, and of course she's doing so much. But when I think of the next generation coming up and all these teens who volunteer for us and do this work, and I say untapped because she's younger than me, right? So she's coming up behind us and she's got all these great ideas and so much that they could do if we just give them an opportunity to do it. I was talking to Jill about this yesterday and I get so excited about it, but I think if we could take a step back and give the next generation an opportunity to do the right thing and let them fall in love with some of this, instead of pushing them towards the worry and the concern about the world is ending. And so I've got to do something that takes care of me, and just me. I think if we could keep this community feeling that is here in Milan, the thing that makes it work so much differently than other places that I've lived. And really the reason that I brought my daughter here in the first place is this idea of taking care of each other. The only way to keep that going is to make sure that it gets passed on to teenagers and kids and things like that. So if we could find a way through programs like this to say, hey, you could really enjoy this, and you super smart kid who really likes growing things or really has an engineering mind, you don't have to go far away to take your really super smarts someplace and do something great with it. You could do it right here and serve your community right here, and do amazing things. And you could come right back to Milan and do it. I think if we could capture that, it would serve us all very, very well. And we could keep that feeling of taking care of each other rolling for generations to come. It's the only way I can think of to do it. But I also think that there's this idea that food is, just this one avenue, right? Because, and when people think of Aid In Milan, they think of food. But food and poverty are so closely intertwined that you can't separate them. And so there's almost this idea of hidden poverty, especially in Milan. Some people see it, and some people see it more clearly than other folks see it. But the further we get from being able to control our own food supply, the easier it will be for Milan to, I guess, lose their tax base. And I hate to be so corporate about it, but honestly, that is what happens, because nutrition and good nutrition really does feed into having a healthier population and having a financially healthier population. It's so intertwined, you can't break the two apart. So I think teaching those to kids as they're growing up and getting them to understand that early, that investing in yourself and investing in your family and taking the time to take care of yourself, even though it is hard and it does take a little bit more time on the front end, it's worth it to take care of yourself. I think getting to them when they're younger like that will pay massive dividends down the road.
Oh, the other thing that I thought about, and I can say this from my own family standpoint through the pandemic, is we enriched our garden, kind of expanded what we were growing and working on, and the kids were much more available and much more involved. And it was just a really helpful for our mental health. And I think of that in terms of the community, like the more we grow, the more people are outside, the more neighbors are sharing seeds with neighbors and sharing gardening tips with neighbors and sharing extra tomatoes with neighbors. And that's how I grew up. And it's such a special life. And I think more than many communities, I think you touched on that, Joy, we have land and space and a lot of know-how. We have a lot of people who keep gardens and are willing to share, and a very active gardeners club Milan has. So we have great resources. And how smart are you to tap into that?
Well, it's really not me though. I mean, I don't come from a gardening background. This is, but I did grow up very, very poor. And I've mentioned this to other folks around the community. I was very poor growing up. My dad had to learn how to hunt to feed us because that's how poor we were. And that was the skill set he could pick up. So it's about taking control of your own destiny, right? But not just your own destiny. It's about taking care of, we would feed the people around us. He was a pastor. And so of course that was passed down to us. But I remember going out to, very, very rural where I grew up, but we would go out to, seniors' houses and we would pass on the stuff. He would intentionally go out and hunt for more folks in order to feed other people too. So you pass that on very easily to other people when you can do that. And I think it's so important to pass that on as quickly as you can. But it doesn't take long to intervene and change an entire generation. Somebody intervened with he and my mom, and very quickly in one generation, it turned around, and me and my sisters no longer are experiencing the poverty that they did. So I know it works, but you've got to intervene.
Well, and so the whole notion that you talked about too, about just healthy communities in general being more than just food, I'd love to have you extrapolate on that a little bit too, because you're starting another program that's going to be focusing on all aspects of developing a healthy community.
Is this the summer program that we're talking about?
Yeah.
So that's not just an Aid In Milan thing, but I am working with the library and the senior center. Mostly, it's like the three of us kind of tossing this around and what are we going to do with this type thing. But yes, we are doing a program this summer. It's supposed to launch in June, and we're super excited about it. It should be really, really fun. So if you have not worked with me or the two Jennifers at the Senior Center, and I know, like, we're all a bunch of J names. We should be in a Dr. Seuss book. It's ridiculous, but yes, it should be really exciting. But it's a Healthy Communities summer program, and the focus is on getting kids, so children, seniors over the age of 55, and people who have some disability, whether that's a cognitive impairment or a physical disability, to get educated about what makes a healthy community, and to just get active in different ways. So that's their mental health, focusing on their mind. So there's a component that encourages them to read more over the summer, but also their physical activity, whatever that looks like for them. If you can move by walking or running, or if the best that you can do and the most that you can do is, moving your arms a lot, whatever that is, some kind of physical activity for you. There's a component about safe and healthy neighborhoods, so keeping your neighborhood clean and things like that. But there's a whole lot in there about even just not staying isolated. So for your own mental health, there's a strong component of community and making sure that nobody is alone in this, because that is a huge component of having a healthy community, is having a solid support system. Because when you need something, especially in a crisis, that is where you see the difference between somebody who makes it and somebody who doesn't. We're all going to run into a crisis situation, but if you have a good support network, you're more likely to get through it without it, spiraling out of control than if you don't. So building that network and framework really early, I think, is extremely important. But also pairing younger folks with that older generation is so vital. We've seen this in studies that have been done for decades at this point, where that intergenerational programming is vital for communities and builds a connection there that lasts and really strengthens both kids' mental health as well as seniors. And you get to capture a lot of that living history that you would lose otherwise if you don't put them together. So it's supposed to be like a 13-week program. Lots of folks in the community are getting involved. So this is picked up. It's quite a snowball effect. So, I couldn't list everybody, because if I start, then I'll leave somebody out and I'll be in trouble. But definitely check all of our websites for that. It's coming up. And if you have anybody really could get involved. So we're not limiting it to just those people. We just think that those are the people who will want to be involved the most, and they're at most risk of being isolated right now. But check our website if you want to get involved. And we're going to need community help, because there are prizes for achieving certain levels of participation. So we're going to ask you for a donation. I'm just going to prep you for it.
It's all right. It's just really so exciting to talk to you and understand all of the ways that Aid In Milan impacts our community and creates a better place for us to live and work and play and just commune with one another. So we appreciate you taking so much time to talk with us this morning. Is there anything else in particular you wanted to mention about what's going on at Aid In Milan, or?
I will say one more thing, because it's coming up really quickly. And this is not something that is being offered right now, because I don't know how to do it yet. Shocking, I know, but I don't know how to do everything. We are hosting a planning meeting February 23rd, and it is for a program that is to support people with disabilities. I literally have no more information than that, because I don't know what the program should look like. That's what the meeting is for. It's just a jumping off point of, if you have information or insight into what that should or could look like, it's a discussion about, what do these folks need? What could that look like? So if you're interested in that, it's at Aid In Milan at 7:00, February 23rd. Please come out. I'm very interested in hearing thoughts.
Wow. Thank you so much.
That's really
Joy.
nice.
Yeah. Fabulous.
Very
So
nice.
again, can you say your website address one more time for people so they can find all the things we talked about today?
It's aidinmilan.org.
Great. Perfect. Well, thanks for your time this morning, Joy, and sharing all of the great stuff that's happening at Aid In Milan. Kim and I really enjoy talking to all of the people in our community that are making things happen. And I know there are a lot of people that make it work at Aid In Milan. So thanks to all of you.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us this morning, Joy. It was a pleasure.
All right. Talk to everybody later. Thanks. Bye.